The NBA is full of all different shots. Now, some shots are boring but effective. Take Mr. Fundamental Tim Duncan, for example. You have your good shots. Take Steph Curry, for example, and then there are the trick shots. One that you don't practice. They just manage to get in the basket with a spice of, did he just make that? These are trick shots made by the elite. Level 10. We're just getting started, baby. Danilo Gallinari in the Denver Nuggets versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Danilo comes down the court, passes the ball to his teammate. His teammate passes back. Danilo attempts a shot at the rim, but not before a defender jumps in his way to draw the foul. For Danilo, that's an and one. Danilo puts up a crazy hook shot that only Kareem could make. The shot was so crazy that the Denver bench couldn't believe it. The fans too. Well, Kareem, looks like you have an Italian twin.
Big play here. Gallo. Throw it out.
Level 20. The kitchen is heating up. Nick Young in the Washington Wizards versus the Dallas Mavericks. Nick Young is beyond the arc at the corner. Does a trick move to get past the first defender. Another defender waits for him in the paint, but that doesn't stop Swaggy P. He does a 360 reverse layup to get the basket in between two defenders. My guy Swaggy P was undefeated.
43-39, backdoor, Nick Young. Oh, reverse!
Until D'Angelo Russell came into the picture and stole his mojo and helped him lose his woman. Hopefully D'Angelo Russell has changed this time around, especially with the Lakers in the playoffs. The last thing they need is another conversation secretly recorded. Yikes. If you know, you know. Level 30. The shooter. DeMar DeRozan and the San Antonio Spurs versus the Los Angeles Clippers. Down the court, DeMar gets a pass from his teammate. Down in the paint with two defenders in his way. He spins behind both defenders for the 2-point bucket. Now that wasn't easy, but my guy made it look easy, especially with Marcin Gortat as one of the defenders. Sheesh. I couldn't spin past Marcin even in my sleep. Too bad he could never get the ring with the Spurs. Or the Raptors. Maybe he can get one with the Bulls. Just not this year.
DeRozan. Look like Baryshnikov. Wow.
Level 40. The Magic Man. Now you see him, now you don't. Jamal Murray in the Denver Nuggets versus the Portland Trail Blazers. Jamal gets the pass from his teammate. Jamal takes it to the paint. Except this time he doesn't go towards the basket. He goes behind the basket, up and over the backboard. Now that's how you start a game.
Successful formula for the Nuggets, having Millsap post up. Shot clock down to 2, up and over the...
Level 50, the man everybody hates. I mean, I don't hate him, but that just seems to be the word on the street. He's too short, he plays mad dirty, he will never become a champion. I mean, time is really running out for the last one. Chris Paul and the Houston Rockets versus the Los Angeles Clippers. Chris Paul throws up a behind the half-court shot that goes in. If only he could do that in the playoffs. Yikes. Level 60, the basket magnet. Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors versus the Utah Jazz. Steph drives to the paint. 3 defenders. What does he do? He gets tripped by a defender for the foul, but that's not all. While Steph is falling to the ground, he throws up a shot, getting the and one. No matter where Steph is on the court, he's a basket magnet.
Since the All-Star break, Steph Curry!
Level 70. Booker did what? Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Devin's teammate drives to the paint, except instead of driving all the way, he loses the ball right as Devin passes by. Devin then juggles the ball and somehow manages to put up a shot that goes in. I don't even think Devin was trying to shoot. He just slapped the ball. The ball was like, I'll take it from here, Devin. Sheesh, if only Devin had that much luck in the playoffs.
From Devin Booker. I mean, look at that. Ricky loses it, Devin loses it, and it hits off.
Level 80. Did the basket move? Russell Westbrook and the Houston Rockets versus the Portland Trail Blazers. Russell drives to the paint. He gets the foul. While driving to the paint and getting the foul, he loses control of the ball mid-air, but that was all part of Russell's plan, because he grabs the ball that he lost in the air and still puts up the shot.
I don't even know if he was fouled.
Does my guy have a magnet attached to his hand or what? Level 90, the crazy shot behind the arc. Isaiah Cannon and the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Miami Heat. A Philly player drives to the paint. As he puts up the shot, it gets blocked to the moon. No problem for Isaiah as he catches the ball in the air and puts up the shot. Right before the buzzer, too. Now that's what I call the right place at the right time. Somebody call the front office for the Sixers. Tell them my guy Isaiah is available to make clutch shots. Because obviously, nobody on the 76ers can do that consistently during playoff time. Yikes.
Play by Cannon. First of all, just to have his head in the game.
Sorry, James Harden. You need to be more clutch in crunch time to get that ring. Level 100, taking it old school. Chris Paul and the New Orleans Hornets versus the Denver Nuggets. Young Chris Paul drives to the paint. Who's waiting for him? Two defenders, J.R. Smith and Chris Anderson, aka Birdman. Whew, haven't said those names since 2008. Anyways, Chris Paul does the unthinkable. He dives straight into Birdman with a trick on his mind. A sideways hook shot as he takes the foul. Now Birdman was a big guy, so that was no easy task. Chris Paul was built different when he played for New Orleans. Honestly, in my opinion, he never should have left. No luck with the Clippers, Houston, or the Suns. Sheesh, my guy's getting old. He might have to come off the bench to get that ring.
+1.
Bonus level 1, Millsap time. Paul Millsap and the Denver Nuggets versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, Paul Millsap with Atlanta was a beast. Looks like he still had some juice in the tank for Denver because this play was bonkers. Paul drives in the paint between two defenders. As he starts getting pushed away from the basket, Paul puts up a faraway hook shot. My guy walked away like, yeah, that was all planned. I mean, was he even looking? Sheesh. Paul must have stolen the Infinity Stones from Thanos, because that was supernatural.
Up a wild shot and banks it in.
Bonus level 2. Wall did what? John Wall and the Washington Wizards versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. John drives to the paint, nothing but defenders in his view, no problem. As he tries to put up a shot, he trips and still gets the shot off with one hand. You can defend talent sometimes, but luck? Sheesh. Good luck drawing up a defense for that one, coach. It's also been a while since my guy John balled out like that. Ever since he left the Wizards, it's been nothing but downhill. Hate to see John go out like this, but not every player gets to go out in the blades of glory. Bonus level 3. Is this the NBA or NBA Street? Brandon Ingram and the New Orleans Pelicans versus the Houston Rockets. Brandon drives down the paint like a madman, nothing but defenders in sight. But Brandon, he isn't worried. As soon as he gets close to the bucket, he throws the ball up in the air and prays it goes in. Even he had to keep looking at the basket to see where it went. And the ball goes in. Sheesh.
Circus shot right there by Ingram.
Brandon is a player the Lakers should have never traded. All for Anthony Wheelchair Davis? Might as well trade for Zion. Bonus level 4, Luka Magic. Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks versus the Detroit Pistons. Luka's driving to the paint, but the defender has no desire to be on the Luka show. Too late, Luka draws the foul and puts up the one-handed shot. My guy is putting up 60 points and drinking more beer than Gatorade or water combined. These European ballers are built different. What do? Build them in labs? If so, I need some of whatever they're having. I'm trying to make the NBA too. Boss level, LeBron the Don. LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Houston Rockets. LeBron drives to the bucket with a defender blocking the paint. No problem. LeBron does a 180 spin move while throwing up the shot. I forgot to mention, he also gets fouled. How do you stop something like that? You don't.
Wow. I mean, he immediately went into the spin at the contact.
You just pray it only happens once a game. LeBron the Don, destroying the league since 2003. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Till next time, peace and stay elite.